Hi, this is Lorene, and I've been guided to create another video. If you'll give me a second to clear, center, and balance my energy, we'll get started. This video is going to touch on what we discussed last week, which was karma, because that plays a part in our creative process. And so this video culminates or ends in discussing the blocks that we face with our creative process or in our creative process, and how what we are going through, this transition, is removing those blocks. One of the first messages that came through after I did the last video was that each of us has a wellspring of abundance within us. We all have access to that wellspring of abundance. It is our karma, the paradigms that we live by, the unbalanced energy that we hold on to, that creates blocks to that wellspring of abundance. As we work through this process and we release attachments, when we release those attachments to the paradigms that we've committed to, that we've learned to live by, when we release that, we release the blocks to that wellspring. It is those paradigms, those constructs, that unbalanced energy that we hold on to, that holds us hostage. It prevents us from accessing that wellspring of abundance. A second topic that came up in the last video that I actually edited out was open and closed cycles. That came in about a month ago, and I took it out because I didn't feel it was appropriate to discuss at that time. So what was explained to me is a closed cycle would be, an example of a closed cycle would be astrology, astronomy, how the planets move. Because the message that's been sent to me is our solar system, our galaxy, all the other galaxies, solar systems, nebulas, all these things are physical manifestations of the mind of God. So I don't differentiate between astrology and astronomy, because they all have to do with the stars and the movement of the stars. This is a closed cycle because those patterns or those movements are predictable. They happen it could be days, months, years, decades, centuries, or beyond that, right? Longer periods of time. As we get out into the Kuiper Belt, things move much slower because they're on larger cycles. Okay? But that was what was described to me as a closed cycle, because there is a predetermined pattern or movement of those planets, of those moons, of those asteroids, all those things that move within each body, whether it's a solar system, a galaxy, or beyond that. Okay? An open system is based or rooted in karma or fate. Actually, the words that came to me were karma, fate, and truth. And these cycles are open because they include events like cycles of abuse, whether it be self-abuse or abusing of another. We also talk about a word or a phrase that's been used quite often in the esoteric community, is generational karma. So cycles within families of karma, right? These cycles have been described to me as open cycles, open systems. This is important because as we expand our consciousness and our awareness, and we become aware of planets or movement in the Kuiper Belt, those movements affect our consciousness just by being aware of them. These cycles are much longer, much broader. They take more time. And although we're moving outside of this idea of time, past, present, future, I still think it's appropriate to use it as a frame of reference. And so since these movements in the Kuiper Belt could take tens of thousands of years, and they will affect us, this is going to expand our lifespans. Okay, we will have longer lifetimes because we have to experience those events. Those planets are meant to affect us. The movement is meant to affect us, and it's going to start affecting us not only consciously, but it's always affected us subconsciously. But it is important for us to experience and understand our interconnection with those planets. And in order to do that, we have to experience that and exist within the time frame of those planets' movements, right? So every year my birthday comes around and my sun sign is touched. I'm an Aries. So I feel the effects of having the sun in my sign. That's just a very simple explanation or a very simple example. But as we expand and we have planets that take 10,000 years to, or objects that take 10,000 years or 1,000 years to move, we need to start experiencing how that affects us, but not only us, but our world. I hope that makes sense. So this idea of fate, truth, this open cycle is related to karma. And as we release separation and we move into this idea of a collective working as a unit, this open cycle changes, because we're no longer working from this idea of being separate from individual karma. As we unify and reconcile this idea of unity and begin that journey back to unity, wholeness, and oneness, and take this first step to become a collective of humanity on Mother Earth, we shift that open cycle. So we will be addressing collective karma as a planet and as a people. as we begin to move collectively as a people, this is done through our subconscious. This is not necessarily something we do consciously. We are not going to be getting together and doing, or we don't need to get together and meditate as a group. We don't need to get together to do anything to affect the planet as a whole, or to affect our community, or to affect each other. Because as we begin to reconcile unity, wholeness, and oneness, duality, as we begin to merge this idea of separation into oneness, we are shifting our perspective and our understanding of ourself and our place in this world and our purpose in this world. And that in and of itself, as we shift that idea, that perception, we begin to interact with the world from a collective perspective. All of our engagements are rooted in the idea that we're not separate, that we are unified, that we're one. At the very least, as we're in this transition, we are coming together to understand that we are collective, and we work together, and we affect one another. And as we reconcile that, understand that, and live from that place, that is when we begin to live truly as a collective, from a collective perspective. It doesn't have to be an intentional act of doing anything with a group. It is our natural state of being. It is our natural state of being. Presently, many people are moving through their own, what the esoteric community calls the dark night of the soul. This is a journey of self-awareness, where we are facing things that we maybe haven't even consciously avoided, but we have been avoiding. And as we do this, we become vulnerable. We are vulnerable because we have to face our trauma, or what we might consider victimization. All of us. This is part of our journey of self-awareness. We need to face it, understand it. Understand, maybe we won't understand the why straight away, but we will at some point. But we need to understand what this process is and what we're going through and why we're going through it. This is our dark night of the soul. We all will go through it. We don't choose it. I don't think I would have consciously chosen to do what I did, go through what I went through, because that journey was traumatizing in and of itself. Spiritual awakening is a beautiful thing. Where I'm at now, I'm extremely happy. I still struggle with working through a lot of things, but it was very difficult. We are all going through this. I don't think we would choose it, but we are drawn to it because it is necessary for this process of transcendence. It's necessary. Although this journey of the dark night of the soul is not something we would choose to do intentionally, it is part of our healing process. It allows us to acknowledge what we've been through. It asks us to forgive. It asks us to release the energy attached to those experiences. As we succeed in releasing the energy attached, the emotions attached to those experiences, we increase our self-awareness and we expand our consciousness. This is the process that we must go through for transcendence. The next and final thing I wanted to talk about was time, which will bring all of this together. And in the past, I've talked about how all time is happening simultaneously, and I do have videos I can put in the description that can review that. But essentially, what was shown to me was a plane. So a plane is any 3 points connected. So this triangle is a plane. But that plane can expand to infinity, okay? This flat space. It doesn't have to be just three points. It could be more, but it has to be at least 3 points. And what was shown to me was my past, this is my present, and this is my future. And there was a photograph dropped in the universe for every moment in time from my birth. So my birth is way over there. There's a photograph of my birth way over there, and there's a photograph of every moment in time across the universe up to this point right here, my present. There are also projected realities going all the way into my future. But those photographs are not just of this lifetime. It can go to my past lifetimes. They can also go to my future lifetimes. Okay, this is very brief explanation before I go into what I'm talking about. What was explained to me was, when we manifest, when we create, we are doing that through and from our emotional body or through our heart. Our emotional body is what that energy and that intention from those emotions is what comes in through to our consciousness and manifests our reality. Okay, it's the emotional body that brings forth the intention, and it is the consciousness that is the tool that begins the process of manifestation. Another important thing, I've gotten many very clear messages from the divine, from the source, that it has learned from its experience in this universe that it defines itself as unconditional love. As it experiences this world of duality, in duality, it has come to the best and the worst parts of it. It is able to define itself as unconditional love. So at the root of all existence and all creation, all things are manifested from that place, that intention of unconditional love. Okay? Now I'm going to go back to the beginning. As we expand our consciousness, as we acknowledge our experiences, all experiences, positive and negative, however you want to look at it, balanced and unbalanced, trauma, victimization, whatever. As we acknowledge that, as we forgive, as we release the energy, the emotions, the attachment to those experiences, and we expand our we expand our self-awareness, and then expand our consciousness, we open ourselves up to greater information. As we open ourselves up to greater information, we are able to use that information as a tool of creation. So the very clear message that came through to me in these last 2 days was, as I expand my awareness, my consciousness, I access my past, all of my past lives, my past experiences from a balanced place. I access my future experiences, my future lifetimes, all those things. I have access to that, and I draw that in to my body. I draw that into my emotional body, and I use that knowledge, those experiences, that wisdom as my tool of creation. That is my gift for the work that I've done to bring myself to this place. And that is not only my gift, that is our gift of this journey. Because like I said, nobody's going to ask to go through this journey of the dark night of the soul, but we are drawn to it because it's part of our process. It's part of our transition. It's part of this experience on this world. And even as I say this, that I'm drawing stuff from the past and from the future into my body, I'm really not drawing it in, because everything that exists lies within me. Everything is within me. It's not outside of me. It's just from this place that we exist in, we perceive things as being outside of ourselves. So as we transition, it's very important to understand that what we are drawing in, or what we believe to be drawing into ourselves, already resides there. It's every moment is here right now in this space. And I know it upsets people when I say this. But there are no timelines. There are no timelines. Everything that exists is within me. It hasn't been manifested. Every moment, every moment is created, sustained, and destroyed. All time happens in that one universal moment. Every time this universe collapses, it's created anew, brand new. Whatever we perceived as future doesn't exist. We're creating a whole new universe in every universal moment, because all time is happening simultaneously. So when I talk about drawing everything in to me, in every moment of creation, everything is possible. Everything I perceive as truth is possible, and that is the universe I create. And that is the universe that I destroy. Every moment is a new moment of creation. And as we start to understand our divine selves, our true divine selves, we start to understand that gift of creation. It's not separate from divinity. It is divinity. It is the divine consciousness. That is all of our gift, because at the root, we are all one. We are not separate. We are divine. Once we are truly able to release those attachments, once we are truly able to release those emotions that trigger us and move us out of center, we will create from a most balanced place, and we will create beautiful things. This is our journey. This is our truth. This is who we are. And this is where we are going. If you'll give me a second, let me see if anything else comes in. I think that's it. Thank you.